So my name is Anil. I was born and brought up in Delhi. I was very lucky and fortunate to be born to my parents. Not everyone, I think nobody has a choice of parents, right? The family you're born into, the parent, where you go, your destiny, your path to your destiny, it defines the moment you drop into a family. So really grateful for that. So you can read all this much faster than I can speak. But like I said, I was born and brought up in Delhi, and I did my undergraduation in commerce, which surprises a lot of people. So I joined this sector when it was still on the second generation of the networks and technology, which we call 2G. Then 3G came in, 4G, LTE, and now 5G. So imagine for a person of my age and with my background, non-technical, non-engineering, and I have to hire people. I have to interview people who are super SMEs in what they do, people who work for Ericsson's of the world, people who work for Nokia's of the world, and of course, a lot of other tech consulting firms, product firms. So imagine my plight. So, but yes, I really back myself on what I want to do, what I want to achieve, and be the best in the business. Otherwise, you're just one more. And that's something I cannot live with. That part of me, like I was sharing with two of your batchmates, or sorry, your seniors who were accompanying me, I'm very stubborn. If I have a goal to achieve, I cannot be the second best. So that's something which is more intrinsic. I don't think anybody injected anything into me, but this is what makes me, defines me. I worked in different industries before I decided to move into consulting. It's a late career movement, not advisable for the weak-hearted. Never ever move into consulting late into your career. Either you get into it early could be first 3, 4, 5 years, but don't do it after 10 years or so. It's like being run over by a truck. It's not easy. But yeah, so there are some exceptions always. What I'm saying is a general rule. So take it at that. That's an exception. Of course, my big moment was when I joined Reliance Jio and I was hired for something, but I became the business head and I rolled out the Jio proposition, the non-commercial launch or the free trial period, and then the commercial launch. What went into the whole story is something I'll reserve for another day. We created a couple of world records across different industries, something which me and my team are very proud of. That's not going to come back. That's not even replicable. But it's something which is there in the Guinness record. So it doesn't happen every day. But a lot of what I'd done in those 20 odd years before I joined that role went into this. So it's years and years and years of hard work. And I'll give you an example a little later of what I mean by that. But there are always some quirks. So I'm also quirky. I have a special soft corner for stray dogs and other stray animals as well, including mules and donkeys who are really treated terribly in our country for I don't know what reason, just because they can't protest. And I do my bit giving back to the society on that. I used to paint a lot, but I don't get enough time now. Maybe once I hang up my boots, I'll do that. Yeah, one dream still unfulfilled, difficult to say whether it will be fulfilled, but I have not given up. I wanted to be a paleontologist. Really love catching up with this. I'm still very up to date about what is happening in that field, almost everyday basis. So that part of the passion still there. It's not dead, but it's buried in the subcutaneous layer. You can see my family over there. My wife, my son, he's doing his PhD in AI and ML. What he says and talks, I don't understand much. He's very different. He's unlike me. He's more like my dad. But yeah, he's very focused. He's not stubborn like me, but he's very focused. My daughter, she's a lawyer, and Yeah, she's been practicing for 2 years and then has some dreams of going into judiciary. Let's hope she can make it. Uh, you can see the stray at the bottom. This fellow got a huge, huge heart. His heart is bigger than his body. I feed all the strays. He's perhaps the youngest among those 4 or 5 strays outside my home. He actually waits for others to eat and then he eats. And that is by choice. He's actually a bully otherwise, in a good, playful way. But he knows they are shyer than him, so they don't take food from everyone. So he gives them the right of, eating first and then he eats whatever is left. And if I travel out, which I do because of my client-facing work, sometimes for a couple of weeks, when I come back and he sees me, he comes crying and running at the same time. He's running in motion, but he's crying. Where were you? So, it's very difficult not to melt when you see that love. That is what people who understand maybe dogs, I'm sure some of you do, this is what unconditional love is all about. And I think that balance is important because everyone is doing something. You are studying, your parents are working, I'm also working, doing something. It's so easy to get immersed into that and then be unmindful of everything around us. And that's something I would urge you not to do. Have a balanced life. Being focused doesn't mean giving up everything. The humane side of you and the human side of you, they are two different things. That should never get buried or concealed. Stay human. Be a human. Otherwise, there's very little to differentiate between us and those who can't speak. And I used to paint, like I said. So the one on top is an imitation of a Italian master. I did that when I moved from my 5th standard to 6th. And the other one is, of course, the Last Supper. I picked up a poster and then just kind of replicated that. I was in the 9th standard at that time. So it's a God gift. Nobody trained me, but my mom spotted it very early. I'm grateful to her for that. So I'll keep moving. Now, I'll share with you a few anecdotes of good stories and then the not so good stories in the next slide. So I'm also trying to balance it. Nobody's a 10 on 10. I always say that to my teams and people who have worked with me. And I don't think I can ever be a 10 on 10. So I find it very amusing when I ask people in the interview, say about Excel skills. And I ask them, how good are you on a 10-point scale? I'm a 9 on 10. Okay, wow, that's great. I've used Excel for 2 decades plus, but I've still not been confident of saying that I can be more than a 6 on 10. There are so many utilities, so many functionalities, so many commands that I have not used. And I know of them, and some I don't even know of. So, but that's okay. When I started my career, I joined the field sales. I'm talking about 92. I sound like a relic when I say I started in 92. I'm sure most of you sitting here would not have been born then. But yes, that's what it is. So I was the youngest team member of that organization which used to sell building products and materials around that. We were supposed to liaison with architects, builders, designers, and everyone, a lot of people to get our products specified into large institutional projects and have a channel partner taking care of the last mile. I was the youngest one, and the gap between me and the next senior person was about 4 years, which is a fair bit at that age and that level. But I was given charge of a new category which my firm had acquired at that time. It was a running unit of another product, but a different product altogether, new to the firm. And my regional manager used to be satraps in those days, very big people, very influential, very powerful. And he was an IIM Bangalore pass out, I remember, an amazing person, but very shy. He gave me that responsibility. And the entire team was like, "Tere ko kaise de diya?" I said, maybe there's something in my face, I don't know. And I made him proud. Basis the industry, North region used to be third always. It was West, South, and then North. But till the time I worked there for about 2.5 years, we were always a strong number one. So somewhere, that persistence and that I will make it happen, I will make my manager proud. So I think that's one important quality I would urge all of you to carry. Whoever is your hiring manager, and maybe the reporting manager is the same or not, that depends. Never ever let them down. You owe it to that individual who put trust and faith in you. And why I'm saying that, I'm not saying be grateful to the extent of genuflecting. That's the last thing in my mind. The point is, in an interview of 30, 40 minutes or something like that, nobody can judge and evaluate anybody. If I interview you, I have no way of knowing. I will ask you a few questions, you will answer that. I have to take you on your face value, isn't it? I'm not God, right? But I'll use my experience. I'll watch for those slips. If there are any, if there are none, I will go in good faith. Basis what you tell me, right? What you claim, what you tell me, I will hire you. That is what a 30, 40-minute interaction does at best. Have I not put my entire faith in you when I issue the offer letter to you? I did that, right? So you have to repay that. That's a more important point to remember. Never ever let your manager down. That's the takeaway from the first one. The second one is going to sound hilarious to you, that 96, when MS Office was launched. So between 92 and 96, what were we doing with computers? So let me tell you, there used to be a thing called Word Star. There used to be a thing called Lotus Notes. It was a very different word, DBase 3 and something like that. So they were different things. We used to use DOS commands to boot up the PC and all that. It was quite a journey. And putting a floppy diskette, which would, if it gets bent, there will be corrupt sectors and your data will be lost. We used to take a backup of a backup. A backup of a backup, can you imagine? And still sometimes it would not read the floppy diskette. We were so happy when a smaller, thicker, 3.5-inch floppy diskette came in because it had a hard jacket. So this corrupt sector or bad sector problem was almost eliminated, not totally. And we were so happy about it. So, but then, okay, coming back to 96, MS Office came and some IT fellow came and loaded into the PC. I was in a marketing function for Electrolux, the largest white goods brand in the world at that time, a Swedish appliance maker. And as usual, the entire team, Anil Jain kar dega kuch. I said, what? Kya kar dega? You'll figure out something and you'll teach us. I said, okay. And I saw something, I was seeing copy, paste, and all those things. Now remember, for the context, there was no search engine at that time. You could not go to a search engine and check. There was no YouTube, there was no Gmail. They were not even born at that time. I'm talking about 96. Google came in 2000, 2001 in a commercial way, and then it picked up very fast. For hours and hours, and a part of my brain read right but did not understand right. I kept doing the reverse. Copy and paste, I kept doing the other way around. I have to lift this figure for my cell, that should be paste. Isko paste karna hai. Aur usko wahan copy karna hai. I kept doing it reverse. And then, it's so illogical to say that, but for 45 minutes, I kept doing that. Isn't it so stupid that for 45 minutes, I kept doing repetitively that motion which was not giving me the output. Nothing was moving. 4 or 5 minutes later, I should have, maybe after 4 or 5 attempts, I should have tried something different. I did not. The moment I did something different and I forgot what I did, I said, no, ye mere saath nahi ho raha. I will do it again. And I did that again and I understood. It's the other way around. My brain had read it wrong. You have to lift this and therefore copy and then paste it. So it sounds so silly when I'm narrating this to you. I'm mindful of that. But these are vulnerabilities we should not be shy of sharing or ashamed of sharing. There's nothing, I had nobody to go to. But I'm proud of the fact that I cracked it in 45 minutes. What a waste of time. But I did teach all my colleagues in the marketing function at that time. There were 5 of us. So 4 more people I coached, trained, and everything after that. Anil Jain karega, Anil Jain karega, Anil Jain karega. PowerPoint came up and we didn't know how to play around with that. So of course, please be mindful that Excel, PowerPoint and Word, what you see today, they look similar, but the functionalities were not even 1/100th of that. But the core basic functionalities were there. Even the print command had more functionality than we could even imagine. We used DMP, dot matrix printers earlier. Now, you wouldn't have even seen that unless you Google and check how it looks like. So, be flexible, embrace new technologies. Why I put this was, I had 20 things to put, but I put some of these selectively so that I can bring that analogy or anecdote to you. Step out of your comfort zone. Do not be embarrassed, but get it right, and get it right so well that others look up to you. So, the reward of doing good work is you are rewarded with more work at workplace. Most of the times it is good because there is a bit of flattery, there's a bit of self-esteem, as you read in the Maslow's hierarchy. So all of that happens. The not so good part is that you get overloaded with a lot of work you don't want to do, but a part of me kept doing it all the time because I said, this is helping me learn more and get more proficient. Even if I know it, my proficiency level will go up. It's okay, I'll do it. And I used to put up my hand for everything. It's a bit stupid, but it's okay. And then in 2005, after spending some time in brown goods, building products, white goods and everything, I moved to telecom of all the sectors, the most ruthless sector I could have picked up. A, for the reason I've already mentioned, technology and very dynamic. B, everything is an acronym in telecom. You never say repair, you say MTTR. I ask people, what is MTTR, boss? Bata denge. Nobody would tell. And remember, this is the time when Google was, it was work in progress. So we were not used to Googling also. Even the search engine, while it had started appearing, it was not something we were using very often. So it's so difficult as a sector, and everything is data driven, which was the only saving grace for me because I love data always. I love playing with numbers, scenario building, and all of that. So it was brutal. I even lost my self-esteem for about 8-9 months, precisely 8 or 9 months. And then I said, no, I have to make it happen. I have to be better than these guys. If they don't want to help, if they are too busy to help, because some of them were genuinely busy. Like I said, good work gets rewarded with more work. So some of them were really busy. I said, I'll learn myself. And I started talking to the level 3 people. So initial first efforts were always in the peer group or, maybe one level lower. But these are the people who will never help you. So be humble in the true sense. Go down the hierarchy. Don't be bound by hierarchies. That's the point I want to make here. Not about my being so stupid. The point was, go down the hierarchy and be genuinely humble. Ask people, "Mere ko nahi aata hai, tum bata do." Ask them. They will tell you. They will love it and they will respect you more for it. They will never judge you for not knowing. See, they already know it. We are only fooling ourselves by pretending that they don't know. They already know it. But if you go and tell and open up to somebody and say, "Mujhe sikha do," they will do that. I have yet to come across anybody in my fairly long career who has said no. But go to the right person, go down. That's very important. And then, I already said it, consulting was brutal, very late stage. And I would say, so terrible to say that I was lucky because COVID happened, but I was lucky that due to COVID, I was not spending more and more time commuting and traveling. I was supposed to be onshore for some client work and this and that and all that. So I was safe from all of that. I was stuck in my home. And like a maniac, I worked, and I spent hours and hours, laborious, hard work, learning the ropes, learning the tricks, and again, doing the same things. Go down 3 levels, ask questions, यार बता दो ये कैसे होता है, हाँ ये बता दो कैसे होता है, अच्छा इसको यहाँ देखना है, ओके आई लुक इट अप एंड आई कम बैक टू यू इफ आई हैव क्वेश्चन. सो डोंट वेस्ट देयर टाइम बट आस्क देम विद ऑल द ह्यूमिलिटी. डू नॉट हैव फेक sense of self importance. You're all at a very early stage. I'm hoping some part of what I share will stay with you, because this will be your most powerful ally. And I'm mindful of the fact that a lot of speakers will come, and they have already come in the last 2 days. I'm sure they will not be saying anything which is very different. It's just that our way of expression might be different. Our examples, analogies, and anecdotes will be different. But the idea is that you learn all these things and stick somewhere. If it sticks, even 10% of this sticks, you'll be doing well. So I'll keep moving. Sorry, I have to point there, right? Okay, now I made a lot of blunders, a lot of goof ups. So the first one on top is 2001, that terrible year when Osama did what he did. I was in Stockholm working for Electrolux in the head office. And for 3 months, so it was a difficult, complex arrangement. Let's say I was like an officer on special duty. My compensation was paid in Indian rupees in India, where my family was, and I was there on a secondment for 2 years. So I was getting something what we used to call a stipend. And it was like a stipend. I was living like most of you will, on a frugal budget, counting every penny. Sometimes not even buying a metro pass. If I was traveling out for a few days, I would rather walk or take a few tickets sometimes, and that's it. It was so frugal. 3 months, that money was not coming, because the Indian office had to, remit some money to the Stockholm Swedish account, and that got converted and all that stuff. And my HR locally in Sweden kept following up with the CFO, who was too busy, too preoccupied to pay time and attention to this. There was a small niggling taxation issue, so he put it on hold. Little realizing that Anil is suffering there. So he had nothing against me. We are still in touch. He retired long back, but we are still in touch. I have all the respect for him. But what I'm going to tell you is going to shock you. I wrote a very long, emotional essay-like mail. And it was a mix of outrage and anger, and I sent it. And I copied the HR person who was trying to solve for it, but unsuccessfully. 3 months gone, 4th month was already, I was staring down the barrel. I was thinking I'll have to go with a katura or something like that. It was that bad. It was seriously bad. And it got solved. Everyone flew into action after seeing that. And then Bo Stevenberg, my CHRO of Sweden, because the group CHRO, imagine. And he was very friendly with me. We used to sit on the same floor. They don't have too much of a hang-up or attitude. He walked up to me, put an arm around, chalo coffee peete hain. I said, I don't drink coffee, but I'll walk with you. That was the time. And he said, I read your mail. Are you okay now? Are you still very angry? I said, ha, galti ho gayi. You know what? I'll tell you the takeaways. First of all, English is the accepted business language globally almost, barring a few countries. All of you, I'm assuming, are proficient and will get better and better as you work. But don't use adjectives and adverbs in your written English. In business English, there is no place for adjectives and adverbs. Never ever use that. And make a habit of it. It's not about being in a state of emotion which is not so good. Even when you are very happy, don't use too much of that. Use business English. That was one mistake. Second was, of course, it's an essay. मेरी ये तकलीफ हुई, मेरे को ये हो रहा है, I didn't have to write all of that. Of course, he understood. And I knew the context that there was a small taxation issue he had to sign off. But still I wrote. I was pouring out my grievance. Never do that. You're diluting your own story, your own pain. So never assume that the other person doesn't understand your pain at all. It's just a matter of catching their attention. They are deep down into something, and it's difficult and hard to pick their attention and catch them. That was the problem. And last but not the least, I could have requested my local HR lady can I send this? I should have shown it to her. So what I've done after that is, if I had to, and I have unfortunately had situations, difficult colleagues, work not getting done or something, I always type it out, keep it brief, no adjective, no adverb, but I don't send it. I sleep it over, or if it is a morning day, maybe late in the evening before leaving, I again do that. And I read it as if I'm the recipient. And then I do edits. And then I send it. Don't burn your bridges, because that gentleman really liked me a lot. When I came to India in my winter break, I went to office and straight away went to him. I said, sir, आपसे मिलना है. हाँ बोलो अनिल, अरे तू कब आया? I said, sir, सबसे पहले sorry. He said, किस चीज का? I said, I'm really sorry. He said, किस चीज का? I said, sir, I know I wrote a very stupid mail. It was not a nasty mail, but it was a very angry mail. And he took me inside his cabin and he said, अरे कुछ भी नहीं यार, मेरी गलती है. So he had the magnanimity to say that it was his mistake. He was a CFO. I was nobody. But by going and apologizing, I made sure that that last mile was not a frayed nerve. It was a smooth nerve. And that's why when he needed some help and I was leading the geo business, he reached out to me. I helped him immediately on priority. And he went to the town talking about it. Anil, ye karta rahe, Anil to God hai, ye hai, wo hai. I said, sir, kya kar rahe ho? What are you doing? Everyone was flooding me and pinging me with messages. And there was this trial period. We had GeoFi, that, the portable Wi-Fi and all that stuff, which was not available in the market. And I arranged it on special approval. Only I could have given that. And, this is what one small thing did. My going and apologizing ensured that the bridges were not burnt. And he understood my point of view even before I said it. And after my saying it, I'm sure it was better. So you will all get into situations, hopefully not like that, but some other situation. Don't burn your bridges. We are there for work and we go home to our families. So don't carry grudges. Don't burn your bridges. If you end up doing something, which will happen, go and apologize. Apologizing will never make you small. So remember that. That's very important for a sustainable success in your career. Otherwise, you may be a rock star today. Tomorrow, you can be a nobody. It happens. I'm sure you're all understanding what I'm saying. Okay. I was in Maxis Aircel in 2010, 2012. I was moving up the ladder, picking up higher and higher responsibilities. There was a phase which was, I was there for 6 years. I indicated 2 years here only because this is when I was stuck. I was like kind of plateauing. Everyone loved me, my CEO, my CMO, and my CEO. And also the CFO's team, which was, okay, there were a lot of changes there. But these three people, CEO, and CMO, they love you. What more can you ask for? I was their go-to person for everything. But I was not progressing. I have no shame in confessing it was because I was doing the same, my behaviors were the same as they were 10 years back. Be the good boy in the room, be compliant, even be submissive. This is all psychological, this is very ingrained. Maybe it's a part of my value system that give respect, but giving respect does not mean that you can't put your point of view. You should be able to put your point of view in a meeting in a polite way. If you can't do that and get emotional, there's another problem to be fixed. If you can't open your mouth just because you want to be a good boy, there's another problem to be fixed. So that was my problem. I was a good boy. Always, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, 3 packs full. That was the problem. I fixed it. It was difficult because when you are in the same organization with the same colleagues and the same teams, it's next to impossible to make those changes. But I started making those, if you have read Atomic Habits, I had not read it at that time, but I made those tiny changes. But the moment I went to my next organization, which was Geo, I made sure on day one, whatever may happen, I will not be that person. That is the only problem I needed to fix, and that is it. Unfortunately, that generation of managers I was working with till then were cut from a different fabric, not used to giving real-time feedbacks, and growth actions, as I call them. So you are all in a generation where real-time feedbacks are a part and parcel of our operating model and everything. So you'll be luckier, but learn to take it. When somebody gives you feedback, don't throw it out of the window. You have a choice. You can throw it out of the window, nod your head and go, or you can absorb, feel bad for 10 minutes, it's okay. We are all human. But go back to your room, go back to your home, whatever. Reflect. Why is that person wasting her or his time giving you feedback which is not so good? They have nothing to give. Eventually, if you learn, if you improve, you will get promoted, you will get more money or something like that, or more rewards. Unki pocket mein kuch nahi aa raha hai, remember that. So appreciate that person for giving feedback. Unless they have really ripped you apart, then it's a different situation. I'm not referring to that. But take feedbacks, learn to work on it, and go back and play it back to them at an appropriate time, 1 week, 10 days later, that I got this feedback, I'm grateful, I appreciate it, and this is what I intend to do. Is there something I'm missing? Then you are completing the loop. Do that. The last thing I wanted to share here, sorry about that, sip of water. In Reliance Jio, I was so good at everything I was touching. It was like a Midas touch, thanks to everyone. Our FTTX business was not a fiber to the curve, fiber to home, fiber to business, was not picking up very well. There were some fundamental issues about how we were going about it. And one day, randomly in some meeting, this came up, which was not the agenda. My meeting was almost over. You know, it's like you jump on the axe. And I said, oh, yeah, I put up my hand. I'll try to solve. And I do that. And of course, the CEO was more than happy. He said, okay, perfect. I've got the right guy. He'll do it. Jo karega, kar hi dega. I lost my brains at that moment. I should have researched. I should have left that meeting quietly, gone and researched, and maybe taken a day or two or maybe a week and come back and told them that I can perhaps fix this part of the problem. But you know what? I said, "Top branch mein kar dunga solve, ho jayega." And I did. Okay, I did a lot of things, but it was like banging your head against a rock, not a wall. The problems were such, and it took a fairly long time to get past some of them. Even till date, some of them are not fixed. They were really fundamental to the way things had been done in the last 4 years before I put up my hand. So research well, don't get carried away. I mean, it's only maybe a once in a lifetime kind of player like Sachin or somebody who can say, okay, 2 balls, I'll hit those runs and get it. Not everyone can have that confidence when you know you're facing a world-class bowler at the other end. So not everyone can be a Sachin. So let's understand that. So that was a mistake I made. So research well. Don't just put up your hand. This applies even to a new offer in case you are switching jobs. Don't get carried away because of a beautiful name or a powerful global brand or something like that. Don't do that. Research which part of the organization will you be sitting in. Is it meaningful? Is it sustainable? Is it going to add to their top line or maybe a cost takeout effort, whichever way it is. So only two things matter in P&L. Either increasing the top line or bringing the bottom line more healthier because of the cost takeout. So take care of that. I'll keep moving. I know I'm running a little over time. Okay. You will read this faster. But remember, times have changed much faster than my longest journey. I think the Moore's law is prevailing over a lot of things. How many in this room of the student community know about the Moore's law? Can you just put up your hand? And I'm not going to test you, I just want to know. How many people know the Moore's law? Nobody? Sorry. The Moore's law, M-O-O-R-E. There's a person called Moore. Moore's law. It's a very old law. So it's basically about how exponentially every few years the computing power will double and the cost will come down by half. But that, while he predicted it way back in, I think, 80s or something, it got, the real thing on the ground got beaten. It's much more than that. So he was trolled, he was trashed when he said that. People said, you are mad. It's not going to happen like that forever. It may happen once or twice. It's a fluke. So in the business that we do, any business, retail, telecommunication, life sciences, banking, whatever you pick up, any field, any kind of business, if you are not happy with numbers, then you really seriously need to evaluate and revisit whether you want to have a career or not. Maybe there's something else cut out for you. I might be sounding brutal here, but seriously, if you're not a numbers person, you can't be successful for a very long time in any career, any industry, any kind of role. Okay, that's one. The other part is, you should have a bias for speed, because people today don't want thoroughness. That thoroughness is not required. You have to move with speed, because the ecosystem of startups and of course, with globalization, everyone is there. I was born up in an era and brought up in an era when we were very cocooned, we were very protected. There were no MNCs, they were not allowed. It happened around the time I passed out. Thanks to Narasimha Rao, the Prime Minister of the country at that time, he opened up and liberalized the whole economy. The credit went to the Finance Minister, unfortunately, but he did nothing actually. Remember, in the current context, if you do not embrace Gen AI in everything that you do, except for surrendering your brain, you will have a challenge. Even the most conservative, most regulated businesses like insurance, every country, it's the most regulated business. And then banking and some other industries will come, including telecommunications and all. But even in insurance, our clients globally are leveraging Gen AI and asking for more and more and more. November 23 is when ChatGPT released the new version. So I confess, I did not know of the previous versions at all. Nobody was using it. But it dropped out of the sky, just out of the sky, out of the blue. And in 1.5 years, we have seen so many names, whether it's Midjourney, whether it is Claude, whether it is, there's so many platforms, I'll maybe even forget some names. And of course, Microsoft Copilot is Microsoft being Microsoft. They bundle it in the enterprise version for everything you do. It can summarize your last unread 20 emails. I'm going to do that tonight when I go to the hotel. What did I miss? 20 emails, it will summarize for me. It will tell me. In 2 minutes, it will tell me. 1 minute for processing, 1 minute for summarizing and bringing it up. If you're not leveraging Gen AI and AI, so there are two different things. Please remember, they're totally different things. Large language models and the AI part was always there. It's just been building up over the years, getting better and better. But machine learning is a twin-edged sword. If you're pointing it wrong, it can hurt you very badly. Without being disrespectful of your generation, but still I'll be blunt. Even typing a one-line resignation email, people are asking ChatGPT to throw it up. It's so disrespectful. That flowery English, meaningless. You've been behaving like a different person and you're writing, I'm incredibly grateful. What? What are you writing? You've been misbehaving at work. You've been talking down to people in your team. You are talking down to your manager. You're ghosting your manager. And you're writing all that stuff. So don't surrender your brains to ChatGPT. Type your stuff and ask it to improve. And then see whether it is your style or somebody else's style. See, remember, large language models, okay, they are becoming much better every day. So today's version is the worst version you will ever use, because tomorrow's version is going to be much better. But remember, at the back end, it is tokens, tokens, tokens. Just that. They're just stitching up together something basis your prompt. So it can't replace the softer aspects. It can do a brilliant job of throwing up that flowery one paragraph resignation email. Yes, you may never be able to write that. I know people make stupid typos and spelling mistakes, and for the life of me, I don't understand. It shows a red below that, and still they don't have the time to click and correct their spelling. But that is why a GenAI model or generative models can be helpful. But don't become a slave of that. Because remember, this is a machine. It is learning from you and others. Have you ever watched that? There was this Charlton Heston movie. I mean, he was an old star. This is a 65 movie, Planet of the Apes. Has anyone watched it? Just raise your hand. Some have, right? You'll understand what I'm saying, right? Eventually, the human race became so arrogant, and we became the slaves of the apes. I'm oversimplifying, but this is how it is. But still, last evening for 4 hours, I was running a workshop, helping people do a case study, a mock case study on a real client, using generative AI tools. And it was a wow for them, and for me also. Every session I run like that, it's very helpful. So I'm tempted to give a reference to analogy. I'm a person who likes to give analogies. That's my style. 1 century back, in 1825, Ernest Hemingway, I don't know if somebody is fond of reading, anybody who's read Ernest Hemingway classics, Call to the Arms, perfect. I love you for that. I love classics, that's why. So Ernest Hemingway, there was a novel in which a person goes bankrupt. So his friend comes and asks him, how did you become bankrupt? How did it happen? He paused because he was guilty, and he said it happened in 2 ways. Gradually, then suddenly. This is the graph of GenAI tools adoption. I don't think there's a more eloquent way of capturing how GenAI has become so important. We have moved from large language models to small language models, SLMs, which are in-house pre-trained models, and they get better and better on your data, not on a public hosted data. We have moved to agentic, which goes into a loop and runs the command relentlessly till it gets it right. It works so fast that you can go pick a coffee from your coffee machine, come back and should have done it. And you would still be scratching your head how to get started. So this is the power. If you don't understand this, if you are not a part of that, you'll be creamed. So somebody asked me in a similar session like this a couple of months back. I'm sure somebody is going to ask that. So I'm preempting this question. Will we have a loss of jobs? No. So when I started my career, we had, like I said, those kind of computers. We had electronic typewriters. They were beautiful because you could correct the mistake and then get the printout exactly the way you wanted. But computerization, the hardware and the software part of it combined together created more and more and more and more and more jobs. It's just that the nature of job changed, right? So if you are not a person who is doing something to build generative AI or things that may come up in the next couple of years, I have no way of being a soothsayer, please be a part of that. Don't do or end up doing random things which are decoupled from that. You will have a journey, but it may not be very smooth. It may be very bumpy, and it may not be long-lived. You will have to do a painful mid-course correction. So the earlier you understand, recognize, spot your opportunity, your pot of gold, you will be doing very well. I can assure each one of you. So don't make that mistake. One thing I want to, the second last point, because I don't want to spend too much of time again and again on these things. You've read this. In a longer run, don't mistake competitiveness at workplace as a must win. You cannot win and be successful if you are not collaborative. If you don't have a shared success model in your mind, you will never be sustainably successful. You can be successful 1 year or maybe another couple of years, but if you do not believe in shared success, I can tell you there are many people waiting at the end of the tunnel to ram you hard when you walk out of the tunnel. So believe in shared success. That should be a intrinsic part of your value system. Okay. You should be all of this. So read this slide on the top part while I get a sip of water. I don't have much to explain on this. It's almost self-explanatory, but I will spend a few minutes on this is not recommended read, by the way. Recommended read is always very topic, situation-based. You talk to me about a situation, I can recommend you something to read. But these are my favorites for different reasons. The first one is actually the one I read most recently, a couple of years back. The title of the book is Mistakes Were Made, but Not by Me. It's hilarious and it's very serious both. And it's actually a book published out of a Harvard, in fact, two professors, they did a Harvard study and a paper was published, and this is a condensed version of that. And it picks up real life examples of politicians, of great big corporation, MNCs, and the scandals which happened in public. And people said, oh, this mistake was done in my tenure, right under my nose, but mistakes were made by others, but not by me. I signed off, but I didn't make the mistake. Sorry, I didn't do that. So it talks about cognitive behavior and a lot of things. Very interesting book. It's a life lesson in many ways. And I think I would recommend you to read this many times, but maybe once in every 4 years, if you can. Benjamin Franklin was an amazing, inspiring person because despite all the difficulties he faced in the run-up to the independence of the United States, he was never ruffled. He fought all obstacles, all hardships, coming from a very poor family. He was a very inspiring figure. I went through a personal crisis in 2008 after the global meltdown which happened. And I think Benjamin Franklin's autobiography inspired me more than I can express. And imagine a person who was being nominated to be the first president of the US. He said, George Washington deserves it more. I will propose his name and you guys second him. So this is the kind of person he was. Amazing person. The third one, it's a 90-odd page book. Nikola Tesla was the most remarkable physicist we have ever had. Unfortunately, he died in a hotel room and nobody discovered him till a couple of days later. I'm going to make a controversial statement, but that's backed by facts. People in primary school GK read about Thomas Alva Edison, the 100 thing he invented and all that stuff. But you know what? 60% of them was this guy. He was so weak. He was so poor. He used to buy it from him and then announce and label it as his invention. This guy gave us the DC motor, the lightning rods and whatnot. He gave everything. Amazing person, but read it, not for the sad ending, but for how somebody without resources can be so successful and fight all the odds. Really inspiring. What got you here won't get you there is exactly what happened to me in 2010 and 2011 and 12 when I was at a career plateau and I realized that being that good boy in the room doesn't work. So that's my degree of relatability to this. Marshall Grothmith is a world-renowned coach. He is like the god for the coaching fraternity. So he's written seminal pieces, but I think this one is an outstanding piece of work. Before I go to the last one, my request is, if any one of you is motivated to read these, never read a book summary. read the book. There's a reason why people spend $300-400 or whatever to go through the depth and retain it. A book summary will make you sound intelligent here or there once or twice. Yes, I've read that, I know about this, but it doesn't help you because you are reading it not to impress somebody, you are reading it to help yourself. So never read book summaries unless you want to brush it up after a fairly long time, it's okay. Then it will come back. But read the books. Munshi Premchand, I'm not sure if it is even a part of the school's Hindi curriculum nowadays, but in our times it was. He was a remarkable writer, born and brought up in UP. And his short stories, he wrote novels and long stories also, but short stories were remarkable. They picked up one slice of life, and not always tragic, sometimes funny also, but a deep insight of what is it like in rural India. But why this story? Panch Parmeshwar. It's a story about two very close friends who are like brothers. Their families used to eat together and everything. And as you would know, in Panchayat, the Sarpanch is by rotation. So let's call him Person A. Person A became the Sarpanch, and they were the dispute involving B, his friend, his brother-like friend. He assumed, ये तो मेरे favor में कर देगा. It's so natural, isn't it? That affinity, I mean, their families used to have their meals together every day. But when he sat down on that chair, technically the gaddi, something in his brain clicked. He had to respect that. And he did an impartial hearing, and he ruled against his friend, who was heartbroken, shocked, out of his wits. And they stopped eating together. Their families stopped talking to each other for a couple of years. After a few years, B becomes the Sarpanch. And I'm sure you guessed that A got into some trouble. But he was innocent. And B said, I will fix him. I will get even. Let this case come. I'll fix him and I will teach him a lesson. But you know what? He couldn't do it. Not because the evidence was very compelling, but when he sat down, then he realized what his friend went through. He realized is gaddi ki maryada ko rakhna hai. You can't be taking sides. So why I'm saying this? This is my leadership style. I may have people I talk more often to or maybe joke more often to with because of a chemistry. But at work, I'm 100% impartial, 100% objective. If this person had done it, fine, great. I anyways love this person. We have a great chemistry, relatability and everything. But don't bring your personal biases because it will come back and bite you. Your own team performance will come down. Which is your performance? You are the leader after all, isn't it? So remember this, it's a short story. It's about, depending on how fluent you are in reading Hindi, maybe 7 to 11 minutes, not more than that. I would urge you to read that even today if possible. The rest of them are books. So this is my short, this thing. Remember the whites. So in a consulting career, and this can change. This is something we created about a year back, but this can change. So remember, as consultants, you are giving an outside-in view to a client who's paying through their nose. Consultants are expensive people because they come in, they do at a blazingly fast speed a project or whatever is your ask, deliver it for you in maybe 6, 8, 10 weeks or something like that typically, unless it's a multi-year transformation, which can be 3 years also. That's a different thing. I'm keeping that out of the equation for a moment. Because you have the expertise, you have the experience, you have the assets to deliver things fast. There is no client of yours who doesn't have similar people. It's just that they are doing their roles and they don't have the time to take out of that BAU, business as usual job, and be able to deliver this in a short period of time. That's why they're willing to pay through their nose. So you can't give them fluff. That's what I mean by value. You have to demonstrate value for repeat work coming your way. Otherwise, they'll kick you out. They'll blacklist. They say, "What? These guys came, they charged me £1 and they did nothing. They just made some fancy decks and walked away, and we thought it was good. And when we tried doing something, we couldn't do anything. We got nothing out of it." So there is no value in that. So deliver value in your work, research, ask people, do whatever. But I mean, initially you will be short on experience. So talk to people, but deliver value. Technology quotient I've already addressed. If you're not on top of the technology trends, you will get creamed. Innovation is a function of how much are you into the client question and problem statement. Why is the client asking it should also be very clear to you, not just the definition or the document which you get. Lead with empathy is something I've already spoken about. Shared success, collaboration, all those things, being human, right? And sustainability is something we owe to the planet. What we have done to the planet is, it's less at the better, but build sustainability into your work. Supply chain and operations are areas of any business, any industry, where you can really embed sustainability as much as possible. In other cases, it is very industry specific. For example, data centers. You need more and more data centers, isn't it? For cloud storage, for large language models and all of this. You need more and more data centers. There's $1 trillion investment happening in the US as we speak for more and more data centers. And the states, the 50 states are fighting with each other to give more attraction, like it happens in India also. But $1 trillion, can you imagine that? So there is a lot of sustainability which can be built, because data centers are huge power guzzlers, huge water guzzlers. They guzzle so much of water because of the cooling which is required, and of course energy for the compute needs. So these are some of the things you need to know. Thanks.